Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a marketing guru talking to us from the Swiss Alps, Krista Mollion. Krista, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I appreciate you
you.
inviting me.
Thank you. Krista is a business and a marketing strategist. And we'll talk a little bit about branding. But Krista, before we get into branding, tell me about your own amazing journey in brief.
Sure. So I studied international business with a focus on marketing. And with my international upbringing, I was traveling all over the world as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And this led me to be very interested in communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I see marketing as just an official form of communication.
Correct.
So that's where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And that led me to San Francisco to take a job that was originally all about globalization.
Mm-hmm.
And spent 20 years in San Francisco building a career in the tech sector, doing
Mm-hmm.
marketing for major brands that you would know, like
Mm-hmm.
Hewlett Packard,
Yep.
Google, Facebook, all kinds of amazing companies,
Mm-hmm.
Apple computers, and eventually starting and growing a virtual reality agency,
Mm-hmm.
building interactive campaigns for very big companies in 3D.
Mm-hmm. So you're deeply
So I've
into
had
the
quite a
metaverse.
journey.
I can imagine. And I'm assuming that you're deeply into the metaverse now.
Yes and no. So
Okay.
I see this technology as being used for telling stories
Mm-hmm.
of vision.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think marketing is great for. But I do think that technology like virtual reality can help amplify what people think in their minds, but can't yet see.
Well said. Well said. You know, when I was reading about you, Krista, you also say startup founders hire me for a shot of tequila business advice. I love this phrase. Help me understand this and give me an example.
Yes. So this was one of my clients who said that originally, and it just stuck. I really liked how he said that because I think it's hard when you don't know someone what to expect. And we may come with some different expectations and not know exactly what we're going to get. So for the past 4 years, I've been a business advisor helping startup founders grow and scale services businesses online. And as a startup advisor, I'm helping them with business advice. And my style of business advice is like a shot of tequila. And to describe that, it's when I work with someone, I immediately see where they need to scale up immediately. And this is a gift that I have. I believe it's a gift. And that I can see things that they can't see, that they're blind to. And once they see them and I show them this, and they implement it, they immediately experience growth in their business.
Well said. So let's now talk a little bit about branding. And you very, very insightfully mentioned to me that branding and communication are almost one and the same thing. Let me start by asking you what goes into building a successful brand? And you worked with some of the biggest brands.
The real secret is having a strong mission in your company. Many businesses underestimate the importance of defining their unique business mission, their executive mission and summary, and then building a brand following that. I see too many businesses trying to do the opposite, trying to build a brand first and then either neglect their mission or think that it's an afterthought, when really your whole business has to be formulated around that mission.
And can you give, for my viewers and listeners, an example of a mission Unless it's confidential, in which case just say it's not possible.
No, I'll give you my own mission. So
Okay.
my business mission right now is to help online service-based entrepreneurs. So mostly coaches, consultants, small business owners to build profitable online service-based businesses. And make entrepreneurship accessible to all.
Okay. Great mission. But the other thing that I've often been asked about brands is, brands, and I've written about this also, brands are like children, they need constant nurturing and constant inputs. How can brands stay relevant for a long period of time?
There's only one way to do that, and that goes back to having your mission. The more you can differentiate yourself, the more relevant you will be. So you always have to stay on the cutting edge of innovation and creativity. And whatever you do, never save money or try to save money on those two things.
Okay. The next question to you is on communication. Over the years, and I'm from the baby boomers age. So I remember when I started branding advertising in the early 80s, it was very different from what it is today. I'd love to get your perspective on how can brands succeed in the digital world?
There is no other world today. Online and offline are the same. And it's very hard for anybody to thrive if they're not seeing it that way, if they're not seeing it as one and the same. Because today we live in a global world. Everything is globalized. Your competition is global. It's not local anymore. And even if you are a local focused business, such as a physical brick and mortar store or a restaurant or a services business, most of your customers are finding you online. They're using their smartphone, which is a mini computer, and they're saying, where can I get a haircut? Where should we go for lunch? Where should I buy pet food? And they're looking on their computer, their phone, to find you. So you have to consider it as a whole.
Interesting. And given the fact that there are so many different platforms that brands are communicating with consumers, and so many different platforms that consumers are visiting, how will brands connect with consumers? In the old days, there was one big billboard or a full-page ad in a magazine or a newspaper.
There's two ways today. The first one is called social listening. And that means participating on behalf of your brand in public forums, events, online platform conversations, to listen to what your customers' concerns are in general around the topic that you serve. The second way is by building community. I don't think any brand can survive today without building a thriving community of their own.
Right. And how would you define a community?
A community is a gathering of your ideal customers, your partners, your company, employees around a common goal. And that goes back to your mission. So see how everything comes back to that very important mission. And if you are trying to serve too many people and solve too many problems, you dilute your mission, you lose your power, and you become very quickly irrelevant.
Well said. My next question to you, Krista, is on technology. There is a huge change in the way technology is changing marketing and branding. One piece, of course, is the social media piece, but I'd love to get your perspective on how technology is changing.
Technology is similar to the conversation online or offline. We are technology. And in the future, it will just become more and more relevant to what we do. Every aspect of our business is affected by technology. When you get an operation, the surgeon is reliant on machines to measure, your levels and to perform the surgery. When you get onto an airplane, the pilot is mostly autopiloting based on computer technology.
Correct.
Everything we do today is reliant on technology. So I don't think we can even exist in modern society in a collective without technology. And marketing is no different. So marketing, there's a massive amounts of tools that can help us. I think it's very important to analyze the statistics and data of what you're finding, especially having those relevant conversations with your audience.
Okay. The other aspect is communication, which you said is a very critical aspect of branding. The communication landscape, Krista, has been changing very dramatically. I remember for 4 decades ago, there would be a 2-minute film that would be put out in theaters and what the audience would watch it. And today we're talking of 10 seconds on TikTok. How are brands managing to change communication with such short attention spans?
Quantity, consistency, and frequency and relevancy. Those would all be keywords that you need to be paying attention to, which means content was and still is and will always be king. However, what we are finding now as marketers is we need to be more frequent and more consistent. So instead of putting out one long newsletter per month, for example, for your brand, it would be very much smarter to put out a short video every single week with the same amount of information, but cut into 4 pieces. So you have shorter, more frequent communication, and it has to be relevant. So today, in today's marketing atmosphere with short attention spans, you have to cut the fluff, and you have to remember that information is free. People do not come to you for information. They come to you for the takeaways, the bite-sized nuggets of wisdom.
Correct.
So we have to be very precise and stay on topic and be very relevant.
Interesting. There's another aspect of communication. For years, brands have used either sports celebrities or film, actors and actors for endorsement. Now there is a completely new breed of influencers and micro-influencers. What are your thoughts on how this landscape is changing?
Great topic. So this is quite new. It's only been around for the past, let's say, 15 years, and
Correct.
It's growing very rapidly.
Yep.
And major brands are seeing the benefit of this. So anyone who started an influencer marketing agency within the last 10 years and kept at it and grew it is probably a multimillionaire. I would say definitely a multimillionaire right now, because it's so new, but everyone wants to find out how to do it.
Correct.
But because it's so new, it's still quite tricky. So the key here is really finding someone who understands that niche. A lot of people will pretend that they do when they don't. And I've seen a lot of brands frustrated by investing in influencer marketing campaigns that did not perform well. So it's super important to make sure that influence, their micro audience, is very interested in your product. If they're not, it's an absolute waste of your money. And that's what brands are finding right now.
Well said. And that gives me an interesting segue to my next question, which is a lot of companies I have spoken to have spent serious money on social media and haven't got any kind of returns. What is the process you believe in? You believe that brands should follow to select the right social media?
I love that question, because this is something I deal with all the time with new
Mhm.
customers.
Mhm.
And the reason they're failing with their social media efforts is more often than less because they don't build a funnel behind it.
Mhm.
So social media on its own doesn't matter.
Mhm.
What matters is capturing the traffic from social media and bringing it offline into a funnel.
Mhm.
And many brands are just looking at vanity metrics, the number of following, the number of likes, when
Correct.
that means nothing.
Mhm. That is so true. That is so true. The other aspect that I have experienced having worked across multiple markets in the world is the impact of culture on branding. You know, brands change their communication when they go from one culture to the other. I'd love to get your perspective on this. And a follow-up question would be, how will culture be managed across a completely open platform?
Again, this is a topic that's dear to my heart because I grew up multilingual internationally. I also managed many international projects in technology. And so obviously culture has played a huge role on those things.
Hmm.
And I would say that ultimately marketing is psychology, and underneath the culture, we are all the same. We're
Hmm.
all looking for acceptance, prestige, love, friendship, power. And we just have to understand that today we're getting more and more global. So I'm thinking that ultimately, I've seen this in Europe. The young are influenced by American culture versus a local brand of culture.
Hmm.
So if you ask me, I think in general, it's going to become less important.
Mhm. But yet, I've seen there are certain communications that happen in different parts of which could be based on religion, which could be based on societies, where an ad that appears in on social media has to be taken down because it hurts the sensibilities of someone else.
Obviously, you have to respect local culture, and anything before it gets released, it has to be okayed by the creative directors of the agencies representing the brand. And so cultural sensitivities for example, you said religion. I think what's even more relevant today is equality, gender equality,
Correct.
racial equality.
Mm.
And we're seeing more and more brands hiring directors of inclusion, diversity
Yeah.
directors. So I think that these people in past weren't very involved in traditional marketing, whereas now every company is overly concerned to make sure that nothing they put out would offend other people. And you're talking about this issue. We just finished up the World Cup. And we saw a little bit of that local cultural religious value come out, and some of the advertisers had to comply to those things.
Correct.
So it does still exist for sure.
Okay. So, Krista, I have time for two more questions. My next question is, you know, there are brands that are B2B, there are brands that are B2C, there are brands that are D2C, and there are so many other such acronyms. How is marketing or branding going to differentiate uh, across these different kind of approaches to the consumer?
The degree of separation and the desires is how I base it. So for B2B, the desire is going to be focused around financial gain. So when I market to another business, first and foremost, I'm talking about their bottom line. I'm saying whatever I'm selling you is going to help your bottom line. You're going to get financial ROI out of it. Whatever it is, that's going to be my main brand message with my product.
Yep.
If I'm marketing to B2C, I'm going to focus on the basic Maslow pyramids, basic needs. So we're talking about love, acceptance. Everything's going to go around how you personally can feel better.
Hmm.
So it's more about your end goal of the marketing campaign. They're
Yeah.
very different from B2C and B2B, right?
Yeah, agree with you. And a great response. Thank you. And my last question to you, Krista, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. Based on your amazing learnings, your own experience, your journey, what would you say are 3 lessons or 3 learnings you want our viewers and listeners to take away?
That's good. Number 1, be yourself, because that is your secret weapon. No one can replicate you. And this is actually your competitive advantage.
Yeah.
So the more you can try to brand yourself as a unique individual, the better. And I want to just add that that's very hard, because we live in a culture where we tend to compare ourselves to others. And we're also influenced heavily by others. So even without wanting to, we start copying other people because we've been influenced. So if anything, please try to focus more on being yourself. It's going to help you in everything you do, B2C, B2B, personal, professional.
Yes. Absolutely.
Number 2, recognize the world we live in, that it's omni-channel. Omni-channel means that you have to build your own platform, and then you have to go out and redistribute your content in multiple ways, because today your consumer, your fan, your ideal client could find you in so many different ways. So we have to hit video, we have to hit audio, we have to hit the written word. But please never put all your eggs in one basket. So when I say omni-channel, I mean, don't just focus on one platform and expect that that's it. And always remember that those platforms don't belong to you. You have to build your own channel and distribute to those channels. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. And on that note, Krista, and your amazing lessons, be yourself. No one can copy you. You are your unique self. Your second one was recognize the omni-channel and try and make sure that you maximize the multiplicity of channels that we are faced with and we have to work with to build our brands. Thank you for speaking to me. Thank you for talking to me about your amazing journey. Thank you for talking to me about branding, about digital marketing, and also for your amazing lessons. Thank you again. And good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.